So FiReStarters 1, companies improving the world, 6 of them. And you who've been here before will know the drill. We're going to have more of these through the week, but we have 6 today. And I'm going to ask all of them just to give a quick pitch as to what they do. And then perhaps we're going to have a little time for discussion, but we'll see how much the overlap works and obviously for any questions. Who's going first? Why don't you kick us off?
Okay, I'm happy to. About how
self-introduce and your company.
Like?
Yeah, we need just 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, please. No.
Okay. All right, my name is Don Straus. I'm the founder and CEO of First Light Biosciences. I started First Light because I was concerned with 2 major problems in healthcare. The rise in superbugs that are resistant to most antibiotics, and the epidemic of deadly hospital infections. As you know, there's a worldwide epidemic or crisis of antibiotic resistance, and antibiotics, this is driven by the overuse of antibiotics. Antibiotics are frequently prescribed when they're not needed, and often the wrong antibiotic is prescribed. Every unnecessary use of an antibiotic hastens the time when bacteria will become resistant to it. And bacteria are developing antibiotic resistance much faster than we're developing new antibiotics. So today there's bacteria that are resistant to all known antibiotics. And unless we do something, we may be approaching a post-antibiotic world, which is a world in which bacteria that are resistant to all known antibiotics are widespread, and a world where infections that today we consider minor are life-threatening, and a world in which common surgeries can't be performed because the risk of infection is too high.
So you have a fast diagnostic tool, essentially.
Yes. So today, in order to prevent the spread of antibiotic resistance, and in order to cure patients that have diseases that need antibiotics, what's needed are tests that rapidly detect who's infected so that you're not using antibiotics on people that aren't, and then that rapidly determine the right antibiotic to cure them. Today's tests are not adequate for that. They're too slow. The culture tests, like the Petri dish, take days to deliver the results. What we have are tests that identify infected patients and the pathogens in just 15 minutes, and that determine the right antibiotic to cure them in only 4 hours, as opposed to the 4 days that it takes.
And this
today.
can be done within the hospital?
Yes, it can be done within the hospital.
Through what metrics? Through blood? Through urine?
So one of the competitive advantages of our platform and technology is that we can test any type of patient sample, so blood, stool, urine, surgical site wounds, nasal, and we can do this it's done more simply in the lab than any other test. We actually, although it's very powerful and we can detect any type of disease-causing pathogen, including bacteria, viruses, and fungi, and also the toxins that they produce, it's very powerful, very sensitive, but it does all this using an inexpensive digital camera, just like the one in your cell phone.
Okay, we're going to move on now. We have obviously a lot of biotech companies here. So Atrin Pharmaceuticals, why don't you self-introduce again and just tell us what you're doing?
Oren, Gilad, Atrin Pharmaceuticals. Atrin is a company that aims to change the way cancer is being treated. By now, I think all of us has been, saw cancer directly or indirectly. My mother has cancer. And we all seen the side effects that are associated with the treatment of the disease. We have a drug that kills the cancer and is showing minimum or no side effects. It is water soluble, it is orally bioavailable, it is work on a wide spectrum of cancers. We have a poster outside, please come and visit us with Bernie. And we just recently finished 2 studies. One of them is ovarian cancer from a stage 4 patient, where we showed that with combination of standard of care, by 6 weeks, we were able to just kill the cancer. Unfortunately, the patient did not survive, so we couldn't help her. We also have another study with pancreatic cancer that is resistant to the standard of care, and we're showing by monotherapy, within 27 days, the cancer is gone. So
So how would you characterize the drug you're producing? Is this within the kind of the orthodox bracket of kind of chemotherapy type drugs, or what?
it's not a chemotherapy. It's very targeted. It's a small molecule. So we cracked the code for the target that we're going after, and we developed this drug ourselves. A small team, very dedicated, very focused, and the drug is just working beautifully. It's very specific to the target and doesn't touch any of the other proteins that are in the cell.
And how many drugs? You mentioned ovarian and pancreatic. I mean, you think it's a wide range of?
Yes, yeah. It's we have by now in vivo in animals we have ovarian, we have the pancreatic and colon cancer, and in vitro we have breast, we have prostate, lung, and also AML.
And how close to market are we? Just very briefly. I mean,
To market?
to
So
wide
yeah,
availability.
so we
to
are
passing FDA and so on.
Yeah, we are aiming to get this drug to human in about a year.
A year.
1 year to get it to human, yes.
Wow. Well, good luck with that. That sounds
Thank you.
extraordinary.
Oh, and I'm sorry, keeping with the flow,
Yeah.
right, the theme.
Okay.
So we also have a platform that is flow cytometry based. So we are in the flow arena as well.
Excellent. Chris.
Ed, you're going to make me follow the guy that's curing cancer?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I know. Okay.
I'm Chris Hanson. I'm CEO of Aromyx. Imagine if you could measure a taste or a smell. That's what Aromyx is allowing big companies in the food and beverage, agriculture, consumer packaged goods spaces. And the way we do that is we actually clone the receptors in your nose and tongue, the things that allow humans to taste and smell millions, if not hundreds of millions of things, into a little disposable plastic biosensor.
So you are going to digitize smell and taste. So just as I could email an MP3 to somebody now, I could be emailing the code to a can of Pepsi in a year's time.
We think certainly you could email the Pepsi profile. Recreating it on the other end, that'll take a while longer.
Who is and who are your customers? I mean, who are your paymasters right now?
We're not publicly disclosing customers yet, but this is something that big customers in the food and beverage, agriculture, consumer packaged goods spaces, and also in the chemical industry because they make the packaging for food and beverage. So it's something that we would supply to them. They can use locally behind their firewall, out on their factory floor, or out in the field buying inputs.
And as well as just being fascinating, presumably this could have all kinds of progressive applications as well, you're saying.
We think finally being able to measure a taste or a smell will allow these industries to really start to automate a lot of their processes. So one big area now is reformulating products to make them healthy. Surprisingly, 60% of our calories as Americans still come from ultra processed foods like Funyuns and Ding Dongs and Pepsi and Coke. And those were designed back in a time when the main thing was the flavor. And they weren't designed necessarily to be healthy for you. So there's a lot of pressure now to reformulate those products to make them healthier. And so we can take a soda made the traditional way, the way it's maybe not so good for you. We can test that and profile that flavor, and then test all of the possible ingredients, including kale and pine nuts and chamomile and things that are good for you. And then eventually, with the press of a button, you'll be able to get 50 new recipes for that soda that perfectly match the flavor. But 20 will be healthier for you, 10 will be cheaper, ideally 5 will be cheaper and healthier.
Great. Michael.
I'm Michael Bartholmeusz. I work for HZO. And HZO addresses one of the final great frontiers in electronics. Electronics are both ubiquitous and they're critical to everything we do in our daily lives and to society at large. But we can put a man on the moon, but you can't buy a commercially available cell phone that has a warranty wrapped around it for immersion of that cell phone in a pool or in any body of water. So most solutions that exist today result in putting electronics in boxes or seals, and these solutions simply don't work to support the burgeoning ubiquity and profound requirement of electronic devices. HZO has cracked the nut. We've solved this problem. We protect the electronics within these devices so the environment, corrosives, water, acids, other liquids, can have at the devices, and the devices work seamlessly in these environments. So that's really the problem that we have solved, and we've done it in a mass and scalable and economically viable manner. And the solution is here today, and it's being adopted by some of the biggest and brightest brands like Motorola, Dell, Nike, Deutsche Telekom. So we've hit that inflection point, and now it's a liftoff.
Terrific. I don't know if we're going to have time to go into all of these details, but if any questions want to come up, obviously all of these guys are open for questions afterwards if we even don't have time within the session. Robert, please tell us about you.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm with Kineta, and we are an emerging biotechnology company located in Seattle, Washington. Our focus is really in the translational drug development space. So put that into layman terms, that's taking drugs from discovery and then moving them through the clinical proof of concept, which is safety and initial efficacy studies in humans. And we've been around since 2008. We've built a very deep and robust pipeline of 5 different drug programs. A couple of our most exciting drug programs, I think, that will have significant impact as it relates to global flow around providing new and interesting therapeutics in the marketplace. The first one is in chronic pain. We're in the process of developing a non-opioid, non-addictive drug therapy for the treatment of chronic pain. And I don't think that there's any shortage of news as of recently as to the problems that are associated with the opioids out in the marketplace and the effect that those have on people's lives, not only from an addictive standpoint, but also from the standpoint of their lethality, so to speak, because they do affect the central nervous system. And as patients have been on opioid therapy for a chronic period of time, they begin to develop tolerance, and they end up dosing themselves and get into a situation where they end up overdosing themselves. And so a new and innovative therapeutic coming to the marketplace that's non-addictive has potentially huge ramifications. In addition to that, it's an analgesic, an anti-inflammatory, and I think the thing that I get most excited about around this compound is the fact that it has neuroprotective qualities associated with it. So therefore, at the site of the nerve injury where there's chronic pain, there's a neuroprotectiveness around the nerve fibers that surround that and can potentially protect those nerve fibers over the long run. The next program that is really critical is our innate immune antiviral program. This program is developing antiviral therapies that work in conjunction with the body's own innate immune system to fight off viral infections. These are broad spectrum compounds that have multiple applications across a number of wide and emerging viruses that affect the world today and affect what's happening from a global standpoint on a daily basis. I'm pleased to announce that we just received supplemental funding from the NIH and through the NIH contract process to support our work against Zika virus, and we're actively working against Zika virus currently. In addition, these compounds have such promise that we're testing them now in immuno-oncology, so turning on the body's own innate immune system to fight off tumor and cancer cells.
We appear to be fixing cancer today, which is extraordinary, and I think we can all agree that really is improving the world. I left Bebop to the end because he wasn't in biotech, and because he started a FiRe this time last year at the FiRe conference. So I thought it seemed a little unfair to be putting him on this stage again with so many others. But Bebop, tell us more. Tell us again about where Hyperloop Technologies has got to in the last 12 months.
I don't know how many of you knows what the Hyperloop is. Okay, how many doesn't know? Okay, it's easier. How many doesn't know?
There's a guy over there.
There's a guy over there. Okay, security, please remove him. What happened to you? No, I'm joking. So Well, it has been an exciting year for us. If I have to come back from the moment I was presenting the Hyperloop here to now, it's almost a lifetime. In engineering cycle, it's probably we accumulated almost 100 years of engineering in one. And this is possible thanks to our incredible model, I think, that we set it up using the best minds in the planet around the world. Now we have 600 scientists. We were talking, we were probably around 200. So the incredible exponential attention worldwide that the project got was astonishing and exciting at the same moment. This allows you to not only create a solution for something that it's one of the biggest problems that we have on a day-to-day life, that is transportation. But it's also defining a new generation of companies that can actually tackle the biggest problem of humanity. I dream of a series of companies that can start after us that can actually solve energy, housing, every other problems, the medical issue that we have right now. We have the technology to solve these problems. A lot of the time, there are people dying and they don't know that there's a solution somewhere. What we did, they called us the biggest startup in the planet. And that's one way to see it. I think it's more about creating a new model of cooperation between the best brains that we have in this planet and put them together to solve a problem. And it's beyond money or the task itself to create a company that is profitable. The profits is the consequences, nice consequences, and we all know that we need that, but it's not the goal. And I think in this year we demonstrated that this is doable. And what's happening is very simple. You probably saw several of the announcements that we did. We have now more than 20 of the biggest top 50 company in transportation that joined our team. And we have 19 negotiations that culminated in 2 big contracts that we signed for a full-scale Hyperloop. So
Slovakia?
Slovakia, we have a big announcement to do next month. So
okay,
don't ask me
no
to
scoops today
participate.
then. No.
We have Quay Valley that is proceeding. We did the environmental study and the final alignment, so we're ready to build. If they will give us finally the conditional permit approved, it's now 8 months, and we are really all in the starting line to actually start to build. Honestly, Quay Valley, it's interesting, but the other 19 countries that offered us land and also money to do it are becoming more interesting than America, and that's unfortunate because we also have had a long discussion with the government here, and we saw that politics can really make a difference in this kind of disruptive technologies. Here we saw an amazing interest. We are actually in advanced discussion to either integrate the testing facility that we are going to build in Quay Valley or either substitute it and move it here in Utah. So I hope politicians will realize that change will happen. It's not a matter of if anymore. We tested the technology, we're ready to build. It's going to happen. If it's not here, it's somewhere else. Now, the Wright brothers, the people that invented the flight, had to go abroad to actually commercialize their invention. It was unfortunate. For almost 10 years, they were ignored by journalists in America. Incredible. And I hope this will not be the history repeating. And we are super proud to be an American company. We need to fix transportation here at home. And we have the technology and the money and the resources to do this. So it needs to be happening.
Questions from the audience, guys? Please feel free to stand up at the microphone. Quickly, Bebop, just then following that up, there have been an awful lot of headlines and media around, obviously, the whole Hyperloop thing and the misfortune of your immediate rival, who seems to be embroiled in the world's most complex legal struggles. But do you think that politics, almost the media, has become too oppressive around the fate of this extraordinary technology?
Okay, this is quite normal. If you see everything related to media works in the same way. They push you up, then they bring you down, then they push you up again, they bring you down. If you resist the downturn, so we were expecting some downturn because it's 3 years that they are pushing everywhere. We are constantly translating in 140 countries everything we say or we do. So we were expecting some backlash. I love competition, and we think we are creating an industry. Finally, there are other companies that are coming out pursuing the same task, and they will succeed. I personally think that episode is misfortunate, but it represents an old way to conceive companies. And this is the result. When companies driven with the task to make the most of money and destroy everything else, that's probably the result. But what I'm saying is that we are a movement right now of companies. We are creating an industry altogether. And they will solve their problem, I'm sure, and they will be competing and playing in the industry. I expect some backslash. It's normal. They will be criticizing everything. It's healthy. I think sometimes journalists go off the road and just make up story just to sell. That's bad, but it will happen.
Okay, I'll endeavor not to do that, and I'll get you in. Come on, ask a better question than I have.
Thanks so much. I've got questions for all of you, but I'll pick here. Oren, the Atris, is that how you pronounce?
Atrin.
Atrin. Incredibly exciting stuff. So with Gleevec and a lot of other really impressive next-line anti-cancer drugs, one of the real challenges has been the flow of genetic information through the system. Cancer evolves extremely quickly. And the challenge is, of course, that it's really just this small population of cells on the outside of tumors that are dangerous, that can give rise to these metastatic lineages and create all kinds of problems. And so the chief challenge is not killing cancer. There's a lot of ways to do that, some of which don't kill people, which is nice. The real challenge is how do you ensure that the cancer will not rapidly evolve within a long-lived organism like a primate like us? How will it not evolve to overcome your therapeutic? So do you have strategies or adjunctives to manage evolution as well as the static initial state of the tumor?
So you're absolutely correct. Genomic instability is the hallmark of cancer, and it is very, very challenging. Cancer is 100 different diseases. You just listed few categories, but there are many more. So, and the genetic makeup of the cancer is a great approach to go and try to do the personalized medicine. Have the marker, look for the therapy that is most likely going to benefit that patient. And there's lots of work and strategies that are going in that approach. Combination with immunotherapy, that's a new approach. And that's one of the things that we also are exploring right now. How can we get the immune system to cooperate with what's happening inside the cell to kill that? Some cancers do proliferate quickly. Some cancers proliferate very slowly. So it's a matter of being able to use technology to match the personalized medicine approach for the therapy. And that's part of the Atris platform that we do. And that's one of the things that we start now with leukemia and lymphoma for that specific patient, because you do want to have the patient population to respond to the therapy. So it's very challenging. You listed the whole laundry list of things that everybody in the field is addressing every day.
You also raise an interesting point, though, isn't it? I mean, and this would apply to anyone working in the pharma industry. Presumably, there is a tension between sharing the data of whatever the breakthrough, the scientific breakthrough that your drug represents, and sharing that wider knowledge and what that potential offers against, obviously, your proprietary protection of your crown jewels. I mean, is that an issue for you, Robert? Do you identify that, the degree to which you can collaborate and the degree to which you cannot?
Yes, I think it's a real issue for, especially for emerging companies, an issue for all companies. You know, obviously, our intellectual property is what potentially makes all of our assets so incredibly valuable. And to share that openly and freely potentially creates a lot of potential problems for us in the future. We do, however, have over 27 different academic collaborations throughout the world where we're collaborating with teaching universities around our compounds, around our therapies, in order to not only advance them, but to look for new and additional innovative compounds that we can then move forward in the development cycle.
Okay. How close are you, and I'm going to actually ask well, not you, Bebop, because we know about you and you've already answered this question, but the rest of you, I mean, are you close? How close are you to actually selling your product?
Yes,
being on the
so
market?
we're actually in product development now. We've got excellent proof of concepts for our tests, working prototypes, but in order to develop our manufacturing, get through the FDA and launch will be 2 years for us.
And you, sir, how are you? Sorry.
So, no, absolutely. So we're probably 12 to 18 months away from a licensing deal with a larger biopharmaceutical company.
Is that specifically with the Zika thing or with the wider range of products?
Chronic pain,
The chronic pain, right.
as well as our innate immune antiviral program.
Michael.
We're commercializing as we speak.
Sorry, you're off mic again.
Right.
We're commercializing as we speak. So we're probably exiting this year. 40, 50,000 units a day will be protected using our technology.
And the unit, what specifically, sorry, to remind me, what are these units? Because I mean, you're talking about the protection of devices, whatever they might be,
Right.
but the unit being?
It ranges from cell phones to LEDs to critical components in cars and in aerospace devices, critical electronics used by U.S. Special Forces, drones. So anything where electronics enable action, those are the types of products that we're on.
Right. And you're producing, and then this is casing essentially for that.
No, actually, I'm pretty tacky here. I've got a show and tell. This is Finding Nemo. This is a phone where all the ports are open, and so water will get under the screen. It'll get into the electronics. I don't have a big enough glass there, but that phone's operated for 800 hours. I've taken it scuba diving. It's been in washing machine cycles, in pools. It's come with me into the shower, and it just keeps working. So it's a speaking to the biotech thing, I'm going to be very academically inaccurate. But the analogy is we have developed a vaccine for electronics. We don't put cases and seals to keep the environment out. We essentially vaccinate the underlying electronics and let the environment come in. Now, it's not a true vaccine, but the analogy is, you're not an intrepid explorer going through the jungle with a mosquito net. You take a shot and the mosquitoes have at you, and it's seamless. That's the solution.
You say it's tacky, but we love tacky. That's a lovely proof of concept right there, isn't it? Good, we're all done. Thank you very much for listening.